How you go about choosing partners to work with is going to be very subjective. I tend to work with people who I enjoy and who have value as a two-way street. So when you're interviewing companies, and I recommend that as you make your choices, don't just go by what I say. You're going to have to make informed choices for what's good for you and for your company. So when you're looking at these, ask for sample reports. My favorite thing to do, and that I recommend you do as well, is ask to drive. When everybody's trying to sell you something, they're going to show you the cool things about their product that they want you to see. I want to drive the product. I want to be able to put in a name. I want to be able to see what comes up. I want to be able to ask questions. Let me preview that product and ask you about it. Don't dump information on me. And it is time consuming and it will be kind of a pain, but you're better off doing it that way and finding out and getting exactly what you need for your business. Ask some of your credit buddies. You know, if you go to different conferences or, you know, get on the message boards and be able to, hey, who do you guys use? Who do you like? What's the pros and cons? And that's going to give you also some resources. Outside of your commercial credit reports, there's lots of things you can do, and there's lots of free resources out there. You just have to be willing to spend a little bit of time. So one thing that I really love about LevelSet is they've got those message boards where you can go in and plug in a company's name and find out some information about them. And it's going to be a much, maybe not as politically correct format of here's the generic pay history. It's more of here's how we worked with them. They were either great to work with or gosh, they weren't quite the company of our dreams. So you get that honest feedback. So that's one really good resource. Another is a simple Google search. You know, you'd be surprised. Put in the company's name, put in the officers' names on there. You'd be surprised what pops up. And it's kind of like peeling an onion. Every little layer gets another layer. Facebook and LinkedIn are gold mines because people will, I say people, look for the company. Companies will put stuff on their Facebook like, hey, took the office to Mexico. Really? Because you haven't paid your bill to me and now you're tootling down to Mexico. Let's chat. There's nothing more unnerving for that guy than you showing up going, hey, I just saw your pictures. That's awesome. So where's my check? Little bit on that. Had a customer that we could not, wrote us an NSF check, took a chance on him, new account, took a chance, walked him through that, gave us an NSF check, could not get a hold of him. Tried everything, even called his parents, because you know, I need my money. Called his parents. He's a good Christian boy. They didn't want to give him up. They didn't think it was right, but turns out he was in a Christian rock band that put all of the dates of where they were playing, got the sheriff to serve him at his venue in front of his many adoring fans. Listen, if you're going to hide behind Jesus, understand that thou shalt not steal and thou shalt not lie are two of the biggest commandments. Don't mess with a credit manager. Let's take a moment to talk about cross-corporate guarantees. I know they're not always useful. A company may not have another parent company or sister company they can leverage, but in the case that they do, that's another opportunity to be able to help put a little extra layer of comfort onto an account or another venue to go after to collect off of, along with a personal guarantee. And there are some differences there. Would you like to kind of take the credit manager through the stroll of those fun things?
Sure. So I think on a general note, I think if you're representing someone who's trying to get paid, more security is always better. So you're right, there may not be a cross corporation that can provide additional security, but if they do exist, I would always recommend you ask for it. Personal guarantees, obviously a hot button issue, but that's something is generally when you get into the construction field, it's something you've already agreed you're willing to do. I mean, if you're putting up a bond, they can take your house and your wedding ring and everything else unless you can artfully pull that and claw that out of your indemnity agreement with your bonding company. But I think it is a business decision, and I defer to that a lot because I'm here to decide your legal rights and remedies and give you the best guidance that I can. As far as how far you want to push a client, that's up to you. But I think more security is always better. If you can get a cross-corporate guarantee, do it. If you can get a personal guarantee, do it, especially if you're dealing with a new company. you've got someone that's been in business a year or 2 years, there may be no assets in that company. And I see that all the time where we are having to sue parties who didn't fulfill their obligations, and there's nothing in that company. There's nothing to go after. So if you can't get an insurance company or a bond on the hook, if you don't have a personal guarantee, you're just going to spend and pay a lot of money to me, and it's going to be a waste of time. So I always recommend getting the security that you can. It's just, I'm going to defer to my client to make that business call as to whether they want to push for it.
So on a personal guarantee, a lot of credit managers think you need to have both the husband and the wife sign off on it. Is that true?
Well, it's going to depend by the state. If it's a company that's owned by both the husband and the wife, well, you may want to, but I think the answer would be no. It's not always true.
Okay.
It's going to depend on what the state law requires, and in many circumstances, you can get a personal guarantee from, I mean, whoever you want. I mean, it can be a contract. You're allowed to contract with the parties that you want. But I always recommend, if you've got two parties that own the company, get the personal guarantee from both companies.
Every customer is not going to be the same. How you substantiate a $5,000 line versus a $500,000 line, two totally different things. For $5,000, I'll pull a credit report. If everything checks out, you're good to go. $500,000, I'm going to want to peek under the covers a little bit deeper. I'm going to want to maybe see some financial statements. Let's take a look at those. I'm going to want to do a deeper dive. So again, I want to see, can this customer sustain a $500,000 line? What you're going to put somebody through for a $5,000 line versus a $500,000 line, two very different things. And again, when you're looking at that, $5,000 may be a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not a lot to lose. However, I'm not going to ask someone for financial statements for a $5,000 credit line. First of all, what they said to me would be offensive and accurate. $500,000, they can't push back on very much. It's like, I'm going to need to see your financial statements. You're playing a numbers game with credit. You're going to look at, there's going to be some winners, there's going to be some losers. And if I had a crystal ball and could predict who those winners and losers would be, this would be a very easy job. However, you're going to constantly have people coming across your desk that you look at and think, some of it's going to be what I like to refer to as the gut check factor. There's just no other way to do it. You've got to take the best information that you have at the time and make that best decision. You may reevaluate the information later or get additional information that changes your view, but you're looking to make the best possible decision you can with the information you have in front of you at that time. You also have some opportunities to be able to shore things up with lien rights, joint checks, security, and those are some options. Those are a little bit further down the credit highway here, but when you're looking at it, there's always an opportunity to sell somebody. If you're going to have a partnership, it's got to start. If it doesn't start out with honest information, you're not going to get very far. So even if you're calling to tell them news that's not so great, you can couch it in a way that still leaves the door open. Hey, we're going to try COD, or here's what I saw specifically. Let's talk through it. You may be able to work it out and be surprised at the outcome. This is just a small taste of a much larger class. You can take the full class for free at levelset.com. Join me.